Oh, where the fuck is this retarded dog?
No,
Okay. Okay, whatever. Yeah.
Not
Oh
biased,
yeah,
brother.
I'm fine. Okay. So listen. So, anyways, I can start by let me give you the. Well, I can start by defining God because I'm still logging into this doc. But under my account, God is just simply like under account, God just names like the virtual and the productive differential field from which actual things emerge. Hold on, I'm logging in right now though. Yeah, like yeah. So when I say God exists, obviously, like I just mean that there is like a real imminent productive field of differentiation from the actual things being or like are generated. From which actual things are generated now are being generated. Here, so essentially, here it is finally. So essentially, the core position as like or argument essentially is just simply. Well, actually, I'd like him to respond to this first. Actually,
All right, bro. Have him. Want me to unmute him? Or like, I'm
you
not
can get
sure.
him.
Okay, just making sure. In Ernest, do you want me to mute him or no?
I'm not worried about him. I don't care. I don't know why I'm on the muzzle. This
Alright,
nigga's scary as hell. But just to like re-clarify, so God's basically an actualizer, right? The imminent productive field of differentiation. So he makes things different, right?
That's not what that says.
Yeah, you're very, very fucking confused. So, that's so.
He's
Listen,
right in Tron.
God is not an
Getting checked with
actualizer.
being.
Yeah, listen, God is not an actualizer in the sense that some separate agents that actualize things from the outside there. So it's very confused. You have any other responses?
I literally just I'm trying to clarify. How am I confused?
Yeah, like under
Ernest,
my account. Yeah, under my account, God is just which for which actualization occurs. God is just the virtual field of differential like production, right? Like,
The
and if you
virtual
want to,
field of differential production. So what does that mean? Can you
what is
reduce
what?
that?
Sorry,
The virtual
reduce
field of what? Production? Whatever you said, just reduce that. Virtual field of
differential
like
production. Oh yeah,
yeah.
when we talk, yeah, when we're talking about these things like differential production, we're talking about how actual things emerge out of differences, not differential, out of differences, right? And these relations, these intensities, and the processes there, obviously, rather than from the fixed essences. I deny that. And the pre-given identities. So all this is saying is that these things are not primary, right? These things are produced. So we can take like,
So we can just say
for
he
example,
produces differentiation. We can reduce it towards that. It's not a contradiction to say that, right? Where do you go?
What was that a question? I'm sorry, I thought you were just.
You can just say he produces differences. We can reduce it towards that. It's not a contradiction. Doesn't like leave out any substance. We can reduce it towards that.
When you say that, it seems like, dude, I feel like because under my account, God is just not that for which produces differentiation from outside. God is just that for which is the differential field itself. Like that's
The
under my account.
differential field that just talks about the thing in which the things exist are differentiated. And in that sense, he would produce them in that field. Like, what do you mean by field if not like prefer this kind of mechanism?
Like that was really hard to understand. What do I mean by field? Like,
Okay.
and then the
Yeah,
last
if you're
word was
saying is
mechanism, right?
the differential field itself, right? That just refers to the like where objects are differentiated, right? If that's not going to mean that, then what does the field mean?
Yeah, under my
Like,
account,
some
the
kind
field
of
is
mechanism.
yeah, the field is just that for which would still like treat identities as primary, and excuse me, sorry, pizza, and
It
just
makes
that
it
for which
primary.
field as
Mhm.
secondary background. Sorry, did you hear what I said?
So that for which treats identities as primary.
Yeah,
That's
under
what
my
you said.
account, the field is just not the place where differentiated beings or things exist.
So yeah, so when you say that for which treats identities as primary, what does that mean? How can we reduce that and find its meaning? Because when we interpret that, like that could mean that all it means is like, X just takes it to be the case. Identity is
I'm saying,
some kind of atomic
listen,
thing, and they can, differentiate
under my
between
account,
certain
the field
identities.
is not. Listen, the field is not that still would treat identities as primary, right? So all this is saying is that the field itself is productive, and that is for which differentiation, individuation, and stabilization can occur, right? So
That's the point. I'm trying to get clear what the reference is when you say field. If it's not going to be a mechanism, because you're just using the word field, but not really reducing or defining it or saying it's conceptual schema. You're just saying where it exists and it produces these certain effects. I'm asking, like, if it's not going to be a mechanism you refer to, then what does it refer to aside from its outputs or effects? Because, for example, stabilization, differentiation, productivity, those are all going to be like effects or descriptive of the field. They're not telling what the field really refers to.
Okay, so listen. You wanted the mechanism. I mean, we can go to the mechanism after.
If it's not a mechanism, do you think it's a mechanism? Yes or no? We can just get clear on that first.
The mechanism is, there's a mechanism. There's a mechanism here at work. The mechanism is that
is it the field
there
or
is
yes
a
or no?
virtual differential field. I deny the partition, retard. So the mechanism is that there is a virtual differential field and that the intensities,
Holy
relations,
fuck,
and
bro.
multiplicities interact and the actual identities emerge as
I know
temporary
they interact.
stabilization.
I know outputs exist. I'm asking, what does the field
Essentially,
itself
can you mute him?
refer to specifically, if not a mechanism?
Let's mute him up so I can respond. Mute him up so I can respond. Anyways, so Ernest, you
That's why I
retard.
asked him, is the mechanism yes or no?
Like I'm
Jesus Christ, bro.
partition, you fucking retard. Is it a mechanism, yes or no? You can't just say you denied a partition. Is it a mechanism, yes or no? You can't just say you denied a partition. Like, nigga,
What kind of schizo ramble are you on about? What kind of play is that? Bro, what? You just sound autistic. Like, I'm asking you, when you say the field, what do you refer to? Saying its outputs or effects are not the field itself. So when you say you deny partition, what does that mean then? Can you get clear on that? Because you brought that up for some reason.
Under my account, there's more than just two answers. So under my account, this is just not that for which is a mechanism, but that for which is a productive differential structure.
That's why I'm asking if that, with the latter, whatever you mean by the latter, doesn't reduce towards some kind of mechanism. What is it reduced to? And you're saying you deny partition, that doesn't really address or explain anything. So I should explain that as well, and you're not doing that. Because when you say productive, right, that implies some work being done. Work being done itself is a mechanism, but you're saying no, it's not reducible towards a mechanism. If that's going to be the case, then what the fuck are you talking about when you say productive or structure?
I'm going to respond now, retard. So listen, obviously it's not reduced to the mechanism because reduction is already presupposing that the more fundamental level must be made of discrete actual parts, nigga. I deny that schema.
So, what the fuck?
You can't understand. You can't understand, right?
It doesn't need to have parts. What do you say, bro?
Yeah, so all this is saying is that, okay,
it doesn't need to be a composite.
And when you keep on asking things like, oh, what object is underneath that field, like, or what mechanism is underneath the process, but under my account, that's backwards.
That's not what I said. It's not under the process. I'm getting clear in what specifically the referent is, right? What's its nature, what's its essence? Because when you say productive field, again, productivity implies some kind of work rate or work being done. That in itself is a mechanism, but you're saying no, it's not a mechanism. So I'm asking you, if the thing you refer to itself doesn't reduce to a mechanism, then what is it? Things like, differentiation, stabilization, those things are true of the field insofar they're effects of the field's work, which again is going to be mechanistic. But if the field in itself is not reducible towards a mechanism, right? That's just to say the mechanism causes these effects. Then what the fuck are you talking when you refer to some kind of field or productivity? You're not answering that question. You're talking about partition. What the fuck is that? Is that Beyonce, nigga?
All right. So listen. So when I talk about these things, you're conflating productive with mechanical. Like this is a very, very confused thing right there.
Just define productive, bro. We can get past this.
Can we mute this like retard, like absolute low tier? So listen, all this
you
is
can't
saying,
spell retard, nigga. Stop using that word.
All I am saying, you fucking dumbass. Can he get muted? Like, can I get a server mute on this nigga?
I'm not even talking, bro.
He cannot control himself. Let's get some moderation. Goodness fuck.
All right, bro. Go ahead.
Nigga cannot control himself. So you're equivocating between productive and mechanical, you fucking retard. Like, obviously I use the word productive and you think I mean these other things, but I deny the schema that it's gears and the fixed parts or the linear causes or the discrete operations or maybe some external efficient causation, you fucking retard. I'm denying that. I don't even know why he keeps on going about this absolute schizo retard babble. Listen, obviously, it's that for which is productive equaling the generative of actual forms. I'll type that in chat just so you don't fucking mistrack. Let's say productive just equals, where the equal sign at? The generative of actual, how do we spell this? Actual forms. Yeah, right, actual forms. I don't know how I forgot to spell forms. But listen, when we talk about productivity in my account, we're obviously talking about the fact that actual identities emerge from something deeper than themselves. example, and we can have an example where, say, the temperature gradients obviously produce storms, right? We can say temperature gradients produce the storms there, right? And obviously genetic and social and the affective processes produce persons, obviously. So the productivity is just the structured interaction of of differential relations themselves. So like my nigga, like I'm obviously talking about a real ontological structure of tensions, intensities, singularities, and relations and intensities towards individuation. Like, he can respond now.
My bad. Okay, I'll take some time. Sorry, because I had to text somebody as well. I was texting back and forth. All right, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so he just said a bunch of bullshit. Everything he says is compatible with what I'm saying. Mechanical doesn't mean discrete causal parts. I don't know who the fuck told you that. It just means anything in virtue of something obtaining. Right? That's what work means as well, right? Doing something, right? So if you're saying that it generates something that can be reduced towards mechanical, like some kind of like mechanism, which is my definition, because it's in virtue of doing something. It can be effects, which is something being differentiated or stabilized, et cetera, et cetera. If that's going to be the case, then it is mechanical. So we're just, I don't know if you're equivocating or something, but we're not disagreeing here. So anyway, so now the point is it going to be referring to a mechanical thing, all right? Or are you just talking about the environment where it occurs? And if that is the case, and define the environment.
So listen, I don't know how he's so confused. So like at first, obviously, mechanism meant some discrete parts and machine-like structure and already form entities under your account and the interacting
Who
there.
told you that?
Now suddenly you think mechanism means anything in virtue of which something
Who told
happens?
you that? What do you mean now suddenly? Who told you that?
Like,
How do you infer that from what I'm saying?
like it's just you're okay. Listen, what you said. I mean, you can repeat yourself. Maybe I just didn't track.
I literally, like, I never once like defined mechanism aside from something being, in virtue of a thing obtaining, which is why I said work rate, right? I never
In
talk
virtue
about
of
discrete
that's what I
causal
just
parts.
said. That's specifically
Exactly.
what I
So
just
we're not
said.
disagreeing here. That means we can reduce it
Why did
towards a
you
mechanism.
why did you just disagree with me? What the fuck? This
I
nigga's
didn't
retarded.
disagree. Well, I
Then what are you
clarified my
saying?
term
You
1,000
asked
times
me.
over, and
You
you were
asked me, from what
mistracking.
did you say inferred that?
Holy fuck. Okay, yeah. I talked about when you say field, what's the referent? Because when you say a productive thing, that implies a mechanism, right? Mechanism just means work being done, which can also mean, in virtues of a thing obtaining, right? It's going to be the exact same thing there. And I told you, right, if you agree with this, there's no contention. But if you don't, right, when you said it doesn't reduce to that, then we had a contention. So you disagreed. I didn't. You were just mistracking.
Yeah, I don't need it. Yeah. My bad. I'm talking about. Is that? Yeah, I'm good here. Anyways, my bad. Listen, Ernest, somebody server mute him because he can't control himself. I need him server muted.
I'm literally not talking, bro.
I don't
Stop
care.
being so scared.
You garbage can. So, anyways, so he's very confused. I think what he means by mechanism is whatever explains an outcome. So, under that weak definition, right? Sure, the field of mechanistic is the trivial is in the trivial sense is obviously that is like that for which actualization and differentiation and stabilization occur. But obviously, that's not a criticism of my view. Like, just really confused. Like, that is obviously that for which is obviously not that for which the field is really like a machine with parts, obviously. But that for which is the field is the productive structure, like in virtue of which actual things emerge. Like, I don't disagree with that. We're not disagreeing anymore on that part. I guess that's fine. The whole entire issue that I'm having is like you keep on originally using the mechanistic or mechanism as if it like it would obviously force me into some actualist ontology. I disagree with that. I was like the fixed parts of the external causation. I disagree with these things, right? So obviously, under my account, we can say sure the field is productive in that sense. I don't have a problem with that. And then on God under my account is not a person, it's not a being, it's not a mind, it's not transcendent. I reject all these things. It's not a transcendent creator, obviously. All this is saying is that God is that for which actual things emerge at all. It is that for which differentiation occurs, individuation occurs, intensities destabilize, that identities emerge, and actual things become what they are, what we call they are. Under my account, God is the virtual, real, immanent, productive field of differential relations from which actual things emerge. So he can respond.
Bro, oh my God. Do I have to moderate?
Yes, bro. Like, stop
Yeah,
serving me to me. Look,
yeah, nigga.
nobody gave you a false fork or attacked your view. I was trying to clarify what you were saying, so I'm not sure why you're positing that. Nobody said that shit. Again, you're schizophrenic and you're scared of me for some reason. Look, I was saying if God is the virtual field of like some kind of output, like was differentiation, stabilization, whatever the fuck, I'm saying that reduces towards a mechanism, which just means something in virtue of a thing being done. Okay, so if you agree on that, that's fine. We can continue. Nobody was given a false fork or anything. I'm not sure where that came from. I think you're just paranoid for some reason. But anyways, so God is
That's
just
not what
that for which X
that's not what
emerge or occurs. That is what you're saying.
that's
You
not
say that
I'm not
verbatim.
I'm not saying you give a false fork anymore. I'm just like,
And what
if you're using
critique or trap
mechanism
are you saying I
if
posited?
you're using if you're using mechanism in the weak sense, all this is saying is that there are two different senses of mechanism floating around, obviously. If by mechanism you obviously mean the discrete parts and the fixed actual entities, then obviously under my account I would deny that. But by mechanism, if you mean that in virtue of which something obtains and or some productive structure through which obtains or outcomes emerge, obviously, then I'm fine with that. I'm not disagreeing with that.
All right, good job. You can finally try. Anyways, just to formalize and reduce what you're saying, God is just that for which X emerges or occurs. That's fine. I mean, I'm not going to ask what the referent is again. To be more precise, I would assume that the argument makes the abduction for the referent. So you can just drop like the argument in chat and we can go from there. Hopefully you do that.
Wait, you're like so fucking confused. So like
What
Ernest,
am I confused on, bro? What? I didn't.
you're gonna explain it. Can you mute yourself? Like, can you like
Yeah,
stop?
go ahead. I'm not muting myself, nigga. Shut the fuck up and go
Like,
ahead.
like you're trying to like let's say an abductive argument like gives the reference point. I'm fine with that, but we just would stop there, and you try to treat that as like the reference is secure. I deny that, right? All this argument is saying is that the argument obviously picked out some productive field, therefore the field is established. Like, that's question begging because like not that's not my argument. I'm sorry.
It's
I'm saying
question begging.
all you're saying, yeah, it's question begging because you're
Can you tell me
assuming
what
the
question
abductive.
begging means?
You're assuming, I'm gonna give you operationally what you're doing. You're assuming the abductive thing that's happening there. Let's say it's like a move on a chessboard. You're having an abductive move on a chessboard. You're assuming that it is already truth tracking. Under my account, that is not that for which abduction secures ontology, but that for which abduction gives a provisional explanatory ranking for what we could be talking about. So abduction obviously can maybe tell you like the explanatory usefulness or whatever, or what is explanatory usefully or useful, whatever, right? But
I don't know what the
why should
fuck
I
you're
just
babbling about,
automatically
bro.
try
All I
to
said was that the
dismiss it?
abduction can't explain the referent insofar it just picks it out. I don't know why the fuck that's
That's
contentious
not
for you. That's
true.
compatible with what you're
That's
saying.
Listen, under my account, the argument can maybe give you like a way of talking about the field, but it does not automatically entail or entitle or even entail like you to say the field is metaphysically or like real without even defending the
Nigga,
predicate
nobody
term.
mentioned metaphysics. Oh my god, bro.
Like,
I said the
like,
abduction can
just
explain
saying,
the referent you're talking
I'm
about
just
or
saying
pick it
you're,
out. Who mentioned
you're saying,
metaphysics?
oh my god, dude,
I don't give a
listen,
fuck what you're saying. I didn't say anything of that
bro,
sort, okay? If we
my,
agree on that, let's move on. Just get the argument. Stop fucking
agree
babbling in
on
my
what,
ear, nigga.
nigga? I
Jesus
already,
Christ.
what?
Nobody said abduction posits metaphysical like status or ontology. Sorry, nobody said that. I'm saying abduction itself can help pick out or
Listen,
explain the
oh
referent.
my god.
That isn't
So
contentious. If that's the case, and we agree on that, then just move on.
can you mute up and I can
If it's
like get
not
a
an
word out?
abduction, then it's just not contentious.
Listen,
No, nigga, don't mute me.
oh my god, this nigga like just somebody like I think Tron can moderate since he can actually like since
Nigga,
Flo's not
no.
paying attention.
There's nothing to
He can moderate.
moderate, bro.
Do you want me to fucking moderate?
Yeah, you can moderate.
Nigga,
You
I
go, you
thought
go
we
for
were
judging,
both
but
moderating. We're both typing notes.
Classroom of the elitist
I'm
ass,
typing shit
boy.
in the chat, nigga. You typing shit in the chat.
What kind
Like,
of
bro.
nigga?
right, bro.
Definitely still looking for your whole bit, nigga.
Listen, all I'm saying, Ernest, is that simply God is. We can say that God is that for which actual things do not explain themselves. We can say, firstly, an actual thing. I can type this in chat for you. Actual things are obviously already individuated. I don't know how to spell that word. Individuated, right? And like differentiated. I don't know how to spell that word either, bro. I'm sorry. And stabilized, right? So obviously, so when we talk about like a body or a person or an object or a mountain or a storm or whatever may be the case, we're talking about something already formed, right? And that means that these things already presuppose relations and tensions and differentiation and individuation and production. Excuse me, sorry. Still burping, but like all this is saying is that the actual thing is already an outcome, right? And secondly, we can go into the productions. The product, you can get unmuted. The product do not explain the productive condition from which they
Let's
emerge.
just focus on them from the first part. You
From which
said the
they
outcome.
emerge,
They're going to be the
right?
outcome of what?
The outcome of what? What do you mean?
Yeah. Why would it have to be an outcome? And just define outcome really quick so we can get clear on that as well.
So essentially, like I'm saying, when I say they presuppose an outcome, like, or well, to define an outcome,
You
like I'm
suppose an
just saying
outcome.
that all this is saying is that if something is actual, then these things already have a form, an identity, a structure, the boundaries, the relations, and maybe a way, not even maybe, I'm sorry, a way of being
Okay.
this rather than that, obviously.
And so
So
if it's actual, it has a structure. Okay. What else?
if it's actual, it has a structure.
The differentiation can be a structure. Stabilization can be a structure. It refers to a certain thing that exists. And that's
Well,
itself and its identity.
no,
So if it's
it's
actual,
not
then it has a structure. You can reduce
it's
towards
not
that.
necessarily it's not necessarily structure in the strong sense of some highly organized internal system. No.
What do you mean highly organized? For all structure
Yeah,
just means this thing
like
has
it's
form
something
or
like,
identity.
listen, like when I say structure, I just mean that there's some determinate organization or way things are. Yeah.
Exactly. It has some kind of form or identity, right? That's structure. Differentiation is a structure. Stabilization is a structure. That's fine. I don't know what you mean by highly organized. Nobody's mentioning levels of structure or some shit. That's pretty
Well,
weird. But we can reduce
well,
it towards
no.
structure. That's the entire point.
Differentiation and stabilization by themselves, or not by themselves, like structures in the same sense as the actual structure of the thing. That's like really confused.
They're not structures insofar the actual structure. Nice nigga. Like, what the fuck?
If that's what you felt I said, if that's what you
That's not
felt
what
I
I
said.
felt you said. That's what you just fucking said. Like, all
Oh,
structure
that's
means
fair.
that this thing retains some kind
Like,
of form or
we're gonna have to
identity,
moderate.
right? Differentiation
We're
has
gonna
to.
have to moderate.
I'm speaking. What are you moderating me for? Stop being a
We're gonna have
bitch,
to
nigga.
moderate because you're
I'm the
literally
one
like
talking. You're
not
cutting
even
me
getting it
off,
up.
bitch.
So
Be
listen,
quiet
you
then.
asked me a
Anyways, the
question.
entire point is structure just refers to a form or
So
identity.
I don't know why he's mad.
Stabilization has an identity, right? It's known as itself and not other things. That's just a structure. That's it. What the fuck are you disagreeing upon? Don't ask Flo to save you, nigga. I'm the one talking. You cut.
So listen, like I'm obviously not saying differentiation equals structure. Like you can type that in chat. Basically, it's differentiation does not equal structure. I'm not saying that in that sense. Obviously, what I'm saying is that it's obviously that for which differentiation produces structure. Differentiation produces structure, bro. Differentiation produces structure, my guy. Like that's what I'm saying. Under my account, differentiation is the process. Stabilization is the process, and the other things are, like the structure is the process, right? So yes, obviously an actual thing has some form, identity, or structure, but that's exactly why we call it an outcome, right? Because the thing already bears the marks of differentiation and stabilization. That's the issue that I'm having. You're not noticing. You don't really get to say, you don't really get to have these fixed structures. Just then we have to get differentiation. You start with the differential relations, the tensions, the intensities, and the structure emerges as temporary stabilization. You can get unmuted.
Bro, what the hell is with the flow larp? What the fuck?
Bro, it's so. Wait, why did he just get
Bro.
unmuted? Sean, nigga, I unmuted the nigga, bro. Okay.
Bro,
I
please
did.
stop muting me because he just monologues and fucking mistracks hard as hell. If I'm look, I take structure to mean form or identity. Like the entire explanation you gave is compatible with what I'm saying. That just means there's types of structure. Okay, that's it. There's no contention, my guy. Stop fucking mistracking and move on. What's wrong with this nigga, bro?
So what's your
Earth to
contention?
Esau kid number 5.
What's the
There
contention
was
with
no
the view?
contention. It was clarification. Look, I'm
Okay,
saying structure
what's your
just means
contention
a
with the
form
view?
or identity. If that's the case, then differentiation is a type of structure. You disagreed on that and you didn't like attack what I was saying. So I'm taking to be the case. That's a structure. That's fine. So now the clarification is that if it's actual, then this thing has structure. We can move on now. What does that entail?
So what's your contention with the view?
Holy fuck. I asked you, what are the entailments of a thing having structure if it's actual? I'm saying give the argument. Finish the view, my guy. I can't shadow box, can I, right? Maybe you do because you're schizophrenic, but I don't do that shit. Okay? I'm a rational grown man, unlike you.
Listen,
You
ask your
trans
question again.
dinosaur.
Ask your question
Holy
again.
fuck. Look, we had this whole semantic dispute. It reduces towards structure, right? If a thing has form or identity, it's a structure, right? That applies to differentiation or stabilization, right? That just means there's types of structure. So now, earlier I said the clarification is if it's actual, then it has structure. You disagree, but we actually agree on that, right? So if that's going to be the case, then move on and flesh out the rest of the view and its entailments so we can, discuss and debate things, okay? That's how this works. I'm not sure why you're confused on
There's
that.
no more.
Listen.
What am I listening to, bro?
So essentially, like all this is saying is that if something is actual, then it has some kind of structure in the broad sense, right? The structure can be identity, form, relation, or differentiation, and stabilization, organization, boundary, or maybe determination, right? So, like these type of things, right? And obviously, those are like the different types of structure. So obviously, we can move past like if we get something is actual, then it has structure. I think that's fine, right? So
I know I
the
disagree though first, but yeah.
yeah, the entailment, yeah, we're just revising and we can have clarity. So the entailment essentially is that the structure is not self-explanatory because if the thing has a specific form, identity, or determination, these type of things, right? Then we have like questions about these things. We have questions we can ask why this structure rather than another, right? Or why these relations rather than different ones, or why the
Wait, so
stabilization.
that's going to be a blunder though, right? Questions are epistemic, so question you think doesn't entail that it can sustain
Questions are
itself.
epistemic.
You think they're not? To question something isn't based on knowledge, like aka what is X? That's epistemic, right? But a thing in itself and its structure, right, its alethetic status is not epistemic. So having questions about a thing doesn't entail it's going to be a contingent thing or a thing that can sustain itself. That's going to be the blunder and category error you made. If you disagree, then go ahead and attack what I'm saying. But yeah, that was pretty bad.
Like, listen, bro, that doesn't follow because you're conflating. We ask a question about X with X is contingent because, like, we question it. I deny that. Like, what is wrong with you?
Bro, what? Okay, you deny that X is contingent because we question it?
I'm denying the conflation there.
Okay, so what reference am I conflating here? The latter just says we can question something. The latter, okay, just restate it then.
Well, what you're conflating is an epistemic question with an ontological dependence claim.
If it's a claim, it's not a fucking question, then you said question.
No, my goodness.
This nigga is trash, bro. Holy fuck.
You're conflating we ask a question about X with
we ask saying that.
Because, oh my god, he's doing this rhetorical gesture.
That's not the conflation, my guy. No,
so
the entire differentiation I made is that questions are separate of the alethetic status of the thing. No, nigga, don't moderate. You keep monologuing and mistracking what I'm saying. You're not doing that shit, bitch.
I'm just gonna answer this and you can get immediately muted.
I don't care. Just answer what I'm saying. I'm clarifying there's no equivocation. Can differentiate the question from alethetic status. That's it. Shut the fuck up, 10. Damn, nigga. You always talk. Your breath looks like donkey shit, nigga. I don't want to hear you talk. The entire point is there's no conflation or equivocation because the question we're asking is separate of alethetic status. If that's the case and you fucking agree with it, which you do, right? Then us asking questions about a thing does not entail or infer its actual ontological status. That's it. Bitch. If you agree, then fine. Your inference fails. Damn.
Y'all
you're so shit and confused.
Let's conclude.
Now you want to run? Oh, you always do this. This thing is so shit, bro.
Let's wrap it up. Let's just wrap this shit up, bro.
Bro, we can wrap it up. This nigga is shit. Then that's not the whole view. Can't certify basic conceptual analysis, bro.
This shit was I'm so mad. Yo, hold on. Whatchamacallit? What's that nigga name? Yo, Tron. You got verdict, bro, on this shit or no?
Let's conclude first.
I'll go over all my notes.
You guys want to give conclusions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, so my conclusion is that, first, I'll just clarifying the stance. I'm not sure we thought I was attacking it. Maybe schizophrenic nigga wears a big ass pink glittery straitjacket. But I was clarifying his stance, right? We clarified it after he stopped being retarded. Then he said that we have questions about things, and he used that to infer its ontological status. That's just going to be a category error because questions are epistemic, right? Alethetic status is separate of our knowledge, so you can't really make that inference. It's pretty confused. And then he says conclude. I don't know why he's running.
So, in conclusion, his entire strategy there is just collapsed because he kept on trying to turn our ontological claims into the epistemic ones, right? So this is really confused. Sure. Like all we say here is just simply that, like every time when I say actual things have structure or actual things are determinate. Not when I say, but like when people like when we say these things, actual things presuppose differentiation. Obviously, he kept on responding with these type of things where he would say that questions are epistemic. Well, that's the last one, right? And then he would also say the belief status maybe is separate, or like, but obviously you can ask questions about necessary things. Like it's really retarded because obviously that was never needed. That was never my argument. Like the whole entire issue that I'm having is that he kept on attacking. Oh, if you can ask why x is contingent. That's about that point. But essentially, like that's all I really wanted to conclude on that point. But the rest of the debate, I don't have to conclude on the rest of the debate. I feel like I already said what I said. So that's the conclusion.
Ernest, conclude. Did you conclude already?
Yeah, concluded.
Okay. Did you attack the argument that he made, essentially saying that the field of the mechanism is where actualization of stabilization occurs, and when we have these types of discussions, that already satisfies what the field is?
When it came to the whole field thing, I mean, I just had to clarify what that meant. We got it down to like some kind of like mechanism in the broad sense. So I didn't really attack the definition there. So we moved on to the actual substance of the argument. What was that?
Yeah, that's literally how he defined God. Like he defined God as like the field of differentiation.
Yeah, that's why I said I hope the argument like gives a bit more clarity, but that's fine. We can just like have that reference. But the entire point was, what was that?
I had
Wait, you're lagging out a bit.
hello.
I hear you. I can hear you. I mean, it's kind of unclear, but I hear you. You're good.
Okay, I'm sorry. What was the argument? Another argument?
No, just one about differentiation.
He took it that God is not a person, a being, or something that's transcendent. Right? God is a thing for which differentiation or individuation occurs. Did you grant that we can have differentiation and individual? You know what I mean?
Did I grant that it exists, that like that whole thing exists? I mean, not really, not in any strong sense. I was just like, I mean, I just want the argument to kind of expand on that more. And that's when we got into like a whole category of inference.
That was the argument you tried to.
What was the argument you said?
No, I was asking Val for the differentiation, the field of differentiation.
You were asking me what?
No, not Val. What the fuck, 10? My fault, my nigga. What the fuck?
Bro.
10?
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about like ask your question. My bad. Well,
Yeah, what was the argument you provided for the field of? Because he was asking you to give like an IBE in favor of the proposition. But what argument did you provide for the field of differentiation?
the field of differentiation. Yeah. Yeah. The field. Yeah. Like all I was saying is the actual things are already differentiated, stabilized, and determinate. Like when we talk about like a person or like these type of things, the identity, like that's the thing that is like already an outcome under my account. The argument for differentiation essentially was, I don't know what you mean, like, because the differential field, I just defined it to him and I explicated further. But the argument was essentially that actual things are determinate, and the determination presupposes differentiation and stabilization, and differentiation and stabilization like just are not self-explanatory. So if treated as already actual products, obviously, so therefore we can conclude from that. I guess we can say like the actual presupposes a deeper productive field through which differentiation occurs. Kind of what I was saying in the debates.
Yeah. So the whole entire thing, I mean, the whole entire thing is that if we agree there are types of structure, right, and differentiation can be a type of structure, the whole entire thing is that like if you're saying actual things have structure, doesn't entail that they're reduced towards certain types of structures, right? And then the inference he tried to use was that we have a question about the thing, right? Like in reference to entailing something, and I was like, no, it's going to be confused because questions are epistemic, but lethic status is going to be ontological. So you can't really use that inference. So those 2 points I made to defeat his view, and he didn't really attack that. So let's conclude. You can grant the reference.
Okay, I don't see how can respond to that because he concluded too early. And all he did prior was just define the field of differentiation. And
Wait, what was your critique again? My bad, I wasn't listening.
All you did was look. Yeah, so all we did was clarify what you meant when it came to arguing it. You didn't respond to anything because through clarification, we got to the point where structures, right? There are types of structures, right, including differentiation. So if it is the case that an actual thing has structure, doesn't entail that presupposes a certain kind of structure, right? You have to argue for that. When you try to argue for that, you talked about us having questions about sex structure. The answer is going to be a category error because questions are epistemic, right, and not alethic. Anyway, shape, or form. So I was saying that's going to be the blunder category error. You respond to that. So let's conclude.
Wait, yeah, he said. Wait, 10 said the real productive field of differential relations is even the structure and the way you're putting it within your. I think that's what we know.
No, the field itself, is going to be a mechanism. We agree with that.
I agreed. Listen, I agreed that because I already agreed that, and I dropped it because I already agree with him that questions are by themselves are epistemic. That was not the core thing that I was having a problem with. And without obviously this is not that for which is we can say we can ask questions about it, but obviously it's that the thing already bears the marks of differentiation. That's what I was saying.
No, that's what's in question, right? Look, the entire point was that the referent itself is some kind of mechanism in a broad sense, right? And then reduce differentiation and stabilization to structures in general. But I was saying X being actualized doesn't entail a certain kind of structure. You have to argue for that. The argument you gave for that was the whole question thing, in which I accused you of making a category error. But past that, you didn't say anything. We concluded. So you didn't respond to that last point. That's what I was saying. It's going to be pretty easy to conclude here. But you didn't continue. So, I mean, it's your life.
Yeah, I responded to that. So I can let you know what my response was if you can control yourself.
Okay,
the relationship
I'm pretty controlled right now.
Yeah, no, you're not. So the relationship was never that you can ask questions about X, therefore X has deeper structure. That's not the relation. The relation was just essentially I dropped that, right? All this is saying is that if something is actual, then it is determinate. If it is determinate, then it is rather than that, right? So it's rather than that. And if it is rather than that, then there must be some principle in virtue of which that determination obtains, and that for which differentiation would enter that conversation, because differentiation just is the kind of differentiation.
Question,
X is the kind of X.
No, it's just
but hold on. Just to respond to that. Yeah, just to respond to that. First of all, I didn't really grant any objects being determinate, so I'm not sure where you got that from. No, well, your blunder is fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything to say.
I'm literally correcting myself. Determination is just.
I don't really care about that.
I don't know why why he's trying to over talk me. Can you just relax? Determination just is the kind of differentiation, not the fucking differentiation is differentiation. That was a blunder. Anyways.
Okay, the entire point is, first of all, I didn't grant the object was determinate. You didn't even really argue for that. But I mean, well, if it's determinate in the sense that it presupposes a type of structure, then that's going to be fine. I don't know why he's cutting me off now, nigga. Stop being excited. I'm happy to talk to me. Shut the fuck up, nigga.
He's trying to fix up his
The entire point is, look, the whole thing was a material conditional, right? If a thing is actual, it presupposes a kind of structure. But again, you didn't reduce it towards what I think necessary that entails differentiation itself, right? You said it entails a structure in general. So it doesn't really help your proposition there.
And that was not.
I'm not sure what you're saying. Oh my god, that was put into question. That's literally what I said in the